If you follow the tips I gave, I promise you the drums on your beats from here on out are gonna be on Tigger or on Kangaroo. The bounce is gonna be crazy. The spacing, enormous. I don't know if it was last video or 2 videos ago or the Lucky video I dropped, because that one's doing numbers. If you haven't checked it out, check out the Lucky video. I had somebody comment and they requested me to do a video on how to leave/add space in your drums. And that's what I'm gonna do today. So I'm gonna explain to you guys my mindset that I go through when putting down drums to keep space in the beat. Yeah, let's just hop into it. I'm just gonna go over the loop real quick. It's not really that important, but you know, I might as well, because why not? But let's just go over the loop real quick. This is just a vocal. This is my vocals I recorded, and I just put a bunch of effects on it to make it look cool. And then this is the loop with, you know, a few effects on it: shaper box, EQ, portal, and reversed. And that's really it. So this is what it sounds like. Yeah, so that's the loop. Nothing crazy. That's the loop we're working with. If you need loops, hit me up. I got a fat monster folder of them. And if you are ever watching one of my videos and you like a loop you hear, hit me up and I'll send it to you free of charge, free of all that, because it doesn't matter to me. I'd rather see people make with the stuff I make than have it sit in my hard drive. Let's go over the drums now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna really highlight the idea of space. All right, so the highlighted part of this is going to be the space optimized section. So the last 2 bars are space optimized. And what that means is I went through and I did what I usually do to optimize for space, to make the beat feel spacey. These first 2 bars are not space optimized. This is just plain old click and drag, a normal beat. Listen closely and you can see the difference, but you should be able to hear it too. Listen. So you can hear that it felt different, or you can hear that it was different. It felt different. But what actually changed was anytime the snare hit, I cut out the hi-hats. Same thing here, cut out the hi-hats. Taking away the hi-hats makes it so the only thing that you hear is the snare. And that makes it more punchy. It makes it feel like it hits harder. And also, it helps with mixing because it adds more space. Now you can do this with all the drum sounds. If you have perks, if you want a perk to hit really hard, you can cut out the hi-hats when it hits, or cut out the snare when it hits. If you want one certain 808 to hit really hard, you cut out, you know what I mean? So that's just keeping space. Now I'm gonna show you, I'm just gonna go through the rest of the beat and show what I did, you know, the spacing tactics. Not necessarily spacing tactics I use, but the beat breakdown it, and then I'm gonna explain how you can have a mindset that'll allow you to not have to go back into beats and do this. This is a second snare I added. I used the snare to complement the other snare and also the hi-hats. As you can see, both these patterns are very sparse. That's another thing to keep in mind when you're trying to have space in your beats and balance in your beats. You don't want to have too many cluttered patterns because that kills the space. If everything's constantly making noise, it kills the bounce, it kills the spacing. So this is just another snare I added on top to complement it all. This is how it sounds. Then I have this 808 pattern that I put down. This is this Bull 808. Very airy. I just like the way it sounds. It's perfect for a melody in my opinion. But this is what it sounds like with the 808 too. I complemented that with a kick, threw a kick on there, and this is literally the whole drum pattern. Another thing to keep in mind if you're looking for space, try and keep it simple. You don't want a whole bunch of sounds, because more sounds, the more complicated, the less space. See, the kick is kind of crazy, and it kind of does disrupt the spacious feeling of the beat when it comes in. But that's why in the arrangement, I only use it on the second half of it. It's like a beat drop technique, you know. The beat drops a little and then the kick comes in. That's just like a second half of the chorus, or for the verse, you could just do it. But yeah, the #1 tip I can give for producers to keep bouncing their beats and make their drum patterns bouncy and spacious is to look ahead for pockets. Now what I mean by look ahead for pockets is when you're, whatever sound you like to start with for the drums, whether it be hi-hats, snares, 808s, I like to start with hi-hats because it's the easiest to leave pockets for. Think of the other instruments that you're going to put on, or the other drum sounds that you're going to put on the beat. Think of where they're going to go, why they're going to go there, what's going to go there, and then in whatever pattern you're in, leave space. Keep the pattern simple, leave space for other instruments. As you see here, I did the same thing. I did it for the snare and the hi-hat. Space for the snare, space for the snare, space for the snare, space for the snares. Here I have rolls for when these hit. Well, for these two at least, but I mean that adds space. That's the point of that. Here you see, you can't really see too well, but the 808 hits here in dead space. Right here, the 808 hits in dead space. Same thing over here. Switches up, dead space. There's no hi-hats, it's just snare. It's not dead space, the snares are going too, but it's space. That's the point. Leaving space allows for other instruments to shine in those areas. Don't have everything trying to do everything at once, because then it's just gonna give whoever's listening a fat headache. And this space tip doesn't only apply to drums. If you're making melodies from scratch with your piano or your MIDI keyboard or just clicking them in, the same thing applies. Leave space for other instruments to play. When it comes to arrangement too, leave space. The best thing to do is subtract. Adding to make anything hit harder is 9 times out of 10 not gonna help. If you give too much of something, it gets boring. But if you take it away and give it back, then they appreciate it more. And that's really the gist of it. So that's why a lot of beat drops, the hardest beat drops you hear, there's usually something taken away, something that switches up, and then the whole beat comes in. Like, listen here. This. If you keep that #1 tip I gave you in mind, you won't have to go back in your beat to subtract stuff, because as you're putting in instruments, you're thinking in your head, I gotta leave space, I gotta leave space, I gotta leave space. Where I'm putting in the hi-hats, oh, but I think the snare would hit here, so let me not put 7,000 hi-hat rolls on that exact same spot, because it can make that little section interesting, but space is really what you're looking for. If you look ahead, leave pockets. Now, yeah, that's about it. Hail the market. If you guys have any other video ideas, if you guys haven't, damn, that was just my knee. If you heard that pop, that was my knee. I'm losing it. This basketball is killing me. But if you guys have any other video ideas, questions, comments, concerns, wanting to hit me up, let me know. Subscribe. I'm trying to upload at least once every bare minimum once every 2 weeks, once every 2 weeks. But for right now, I'm probably gonna do once a week because I got stuff going on, but I have time for it. When I don't, I'm gonna shoot for like once for every 2 weeks. But yeah, subscribe, like the video, leave comments, suggestions, anything. Thank you guys for having me. Hail the market. Yeah, now I'm gonna play the whole beat all together. That's about it.